What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Your number one source
to all the keys in the industry.
With Brianna Jovahn.
It's the What's Good podcast.
What's good?
Hey ladies and gents, this is your girl Brianna Jovahn, and we are here with another episode of What's Good podcast, and we are in season 8. We have another guest with us today. Her name is Amber Dion. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Why have we, this is meant to be, because we have been back and forth for a few years. The whole time I've been podcasting, we just talked about that, right? So we are finally here, and I'm super excited to be here with you.
Yes, me too.
All right, so usually we get started with an icebreaker. Are you ready for your icebreaker?
I'm ready.
Okay, so your icebreaker is, if you could choose any famous historical figure to have a real estate client, who would it be and why?
Oh, goodness gracious. Dead or alive, it doesn't matter?
Dead or alive.
Ah, shoot. That's a hard one. I'm going to go with the only person I said I would ever fan out if I met, and that's Oprah. And everybody say, why do you be so, I guess that's kind of like a safe space. But Oprah started out as a journalist. I started out as a journalist. She had a TV show. I've been doing TV. I wanted to produce more TV shows. And it's just her persona. It's like when she walk in the room. And I feel like when I walk in the room, I get the same type of respect. So I would say Oprah, because she knows a lot about real estate. She has a lot of, her catalog of real estate is probably humongous.
Beyond.
So yeah. So it probably would be her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So
not just because she got a TV show and she famous. No.
It's more of a personal connection because of the journey that you've gone on and the journey she has.
Correct.
Nice. Okay. So as we know, we're talking about real estate. So we're going to get to know you a little bit better. We're going to get started with our genuine conversation. Okay. So for you, who is Amber?
I am a woman of God, first of all.
Love that.
I'm a mother of two. I have a 18-year-old. He's getting ready to go to Kansas State. Let me rephrase that. I'm a single mother of two. So I'm very proud of myself because I put my son through private school by myself, and now he is going to Kansas State University, which is a very good school. I have my 18-year-old and I have my 12-year-old. My daughter is autistic, so I'm very involved with my kids' life. I am a journalist. That is my love. I love to write. I write books. I started out in the entertainment industry writing, and then I have an entertainment company, which is Your Media Bay Entertainment Group.
And that's how we met.
Yes, correct, correct. I feel like I'm a real chill, cool person. I'm all about my business, all about the money. I know how to keep business and personal separate. I think that's why I have so many relationships. But yeah, that's me.
I love that. So as we mentioned, when we first met, you were into media, right? But now you have transitioned into real estate.
Yes.
What does that transition look like as far as industry? Because that's two different things. So how did you transition, and what made you get into real estate?
So my dad passed about 2 years ago. And the reason why I got into real estate was because my dad was really big about generational wealth. Right. I had been taking real estate classes since I started college. Like literally, I was taking a class here, a class there. So I've always been intrigued by real estate. I used to work for Habitat for Humanity for over 10 years. So I'm very intrigued by real estate and helping people get somewhere that they love. So that's always been at the back of my mind. And then during COVID, the entertainment industry, just like all other industries, they took a big hit. And so although we were surviving, it made me think about, I need to do something different. And so when my dad passed, I said, you know what, I'm not waiting anymore. And I went and passed my test.
Nice.
Yeah,
so I know they say the test is really hard. How did you prepare for it?
Girl, people be exaggerating. I swear,
or
like
the
the
test.
test.
Good with tests?
No, I'm horrible with tests. I have bad anxiety when it comes to tests.
Really?
But the thing about it is, if you really want something, and if you really, really pay attention to what they're saying in class, and if you take there's like a prep you do, it's like a 2-day prep, and they basically go through the entire test. You don't know what questions are. Yeah, everybody, it's like a test prep.
Okay.
And they go through the entire test. You don't know what questions are going to be on there, but like they tell you, they're just going to change up the wording of the question, but it's going to be the same thing. And so I went through that, and I passed my test. I passed it in so the very first time I was focused on, everybody was like, oh my gosh, the state part, they just came like the federal part. The main part of it was the hardest part. And I was like, okay, well, let me focus on this. So I focused so much on that, I didn't really pay attention to the state. And so when I went in there, I passed the first part of it, I passed it with flying colors. But the second part, I missed it by 2 points. I studied for a week. I went back in there and I passed the test in 23 minutes.
Not 23
And the man was like, ma'am, are you sure you're done? I was like, yes, I'm done. But because as long as you pay attention to what you're doing, the verbiage does not change. It goes the same verbiage throughout the entire test. So it's like as long as you understand the stuff that you're reading and you are retaining the stuff that you are reading, and I think that, it's not, you don't have to be scared.
Right.
I literally had bad test anxiety. So it was nothing like that. I went in there and I passed the test and I was done.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in the industry?
As of October, it will be 2 years.
I didn't know that.
I'm super fresh.
So what is a success story that you can share? Because I know based on your bio, I was reading, do a little research.
Mm-hmm.
You work with entrepreneurs, you work with creatives, like anybody that really needs assistance and don't feel like they can actually get a new home.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure that they have those resources and those opportunities to make sure that they do get a new home.
Okay.
What has been a success story for you?
I'm glad you asked this because I be on cloud nine every time I tell somebody about this story.
Mm-hmm.
My very first client, her husband spoke no Spanish. She was not a citizen. She was on DACA. Her husband had no citizenship. I'm new. I'm fresh. I don't even think I can get them a house, to be honest. But it was something, I guess the Lord just kept telling me, you can get them a house. Don't give up on them. And so I had met the lady and we were talking. She was young. She had two young boys. And I would go show her a house. And so one day we were at a house and she was like, Amber, she was like, first of all, I just want to thank you because she spoke English, very good English. And she was like, Amber, I just want to thank you because most of the time when I tell realtors I have DACA, I don't have citizenship, they don't answer my phone calls anymore. And in my back of my mind, I was like, why? Because that's the purpose of what we're doing is try to help people. But it's harder to get someone who doesn't have citizenship. She didn't have an I-10. She didn't have anything. They just had the cash money to be able to buy a house. And so I stuck with her. She had got to the point where she was getting kind of down and depressed because she was thinking, like, I'm never going to find a house. And I'm telling you, at the point, I think maybe she called me maybe a week before. And that weekend, we went out and looked at a house, and we got her a house. And so one thing she told me, she was like, I don't want to get a house when my kids are older. I want to be able to raise my kids in a house where they can go outside and they can run in the yard. And so I ended up getting her, I think it was 3 acres of land and a house. And so she's planning on putting another house on the land, but it's enough room for her family, her kids. And so that will always be my success story because I was able to help someone whose husband couldn't ever understand me.
Right.
And sometimes when you're translating, it's hard because the language is so different. When you're buying a home, it may be something that I'm telling her she may not even understand, and then she's trying to translate it to him. But at the end, he was very thankful to me. They both were. I was able to get their kids. I got them some little plaques with their names on it to put in their rooms. That was their gift that I gave them, something that they could grow up with.
Right.
And it was just like, just helping them, knowing that we had nothing in common. I didn't know these people. Nobody referred them. And that was my very first client.
So how did they find you?
So I was a part of this referral program.
Okay.
Because beginning as a realtor, it's a hard thing because you're building your own business, but at the same time you're building this business, you have so many fees. Starting out, you have that. I think that's harder than the test.
Oh, really?
Is realizing how many fees. And as soon as you pass the test, the minute you pass your test, you start getting emails, text messages from all of these different companies, and you don't know, should I put my money over here? You don't know what's right and what's not. So at first I was spending money over here, spending money here, until I sat back and I'm looking, I'm like, well, I'm a part of all these different programs, but none of them are helping me focus on the real estate and getting people houses. So I think that was a really big issue for me when I very first started was when you first start that test, when you first pass the test, there's so much stuff coming at you. And then you have these fees. Mm-hmm. So, but you're not selling a house yet. You haven't sold a house. You have fees for your license. You have fees for your broker. Okay. You have fees for the different systems you use. That stuff's not free. So that's the hardest part, I think, of starting real estate is not having a clientele to start off with, but then having to maintain. If you haven't sold a house and you're not selling a rental, I was lucky to sell 2 houses in my first year.
Nice.
Some people don't sell any houses in their first year. Some people don't sell any houses in their 2 years. I was lucky to sell my 2 houses in my very first year. And then I caught on to rentals. So that's kind of what helped me survive. But some people, they don't make it past the 2 years. Dang. They don't make it because at 2 years we have to renew. So a lot of people drop out.
Continuing education where you have to take the test all over?
No, well, you got to take continuing education, but not the test all over.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to have a certain amount of hours that we have to complete.
Because at this point, it's like keeping up your license.
Correct.
Right.
And so if you're not selling any houses,
you can't keep up with them fees.
You can't keep up with the fees. And then when it comes to renewal, There's a whole big old fee when you renew. And then you have to take those continuing education classes cost.
Okay, so we have not talked about this. This is on a whole nother end because what I've realized, even watching TV when it comes to real estate, it's always like a luxury thing. I mean, every agent, baby, they got their Louis on, they got their YSL, they looking real good and looking real cute, right? But on the other end, like behind the scenes, it's real.
It's very real.
She's your face changed. So what else have you learned on that as far as the agent side?
So it's very, I wouldn't say it's cliquish. I think that people get in and they try to find, you want to find the right mentor. Because again, you're coming into an industry where it's just like any other industry, just like the entertainment industry. If you're not a part of it, you have to become a part of it. But you also have to have individuals who are already in it who can refer you so people can trust you, because that's with anything. When I first started the entertainment industry, I didn't get in just by writing stories. I actually had someone who was already in. They started referring me to doing this, referring me, and that's how I built my connections. So it's just the same way with being a realtor. You have to be able to find those individuals that will actually guide you through it, to be able to connect you to certain individuals. As long as you do the work, you're going to be able to connect with the right people.
So networking is like a huge key.
If you don't know how to network, do not go get your real estate license.
That's real.
It's like if you do not know how to network, you cannot be a realtor.
So it's a situation to where like it's a legit team. Because I know I've talked to other people that's been on the podcast. They were saying, they have this person on their team. They got this person on their team. Who would you say builds your team, or as far as mentorship?
You have to build your own team. And I'm being honest. So there's two different things. Every realtor, when you start, you have to have a broker. But brokers sometimes have different teams that you can be on. I'm not on a team. I'm still individually doing it by myself, but I have individuals that I work with, that accountability team. So when it comes to building my own team, you have to think about it. When you buy a house, what kind of things do you need? You need a lender. You need somebody to finance you. You need a title company. I have to go find all those things.
Okay, because that's what we were talking about teams. Those are the people that they were mentioning.
Yeah.
Like they have these go-to people that they can go to make sure that the client is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you didn't know any mortgage loan officers or any lenders or any plumbers to begin with, you're having to build all of that up. So, I mean, with my broker, I'm with Rogers Healy, which is a very good brokerage, might I say. I've been through two others before this, and this is the one that I love, this brokerage. But they have a lot of stuff built in. So I can go into a database and I can say, people can say these are the trusted individuals, and you can choose from those individuals. Then you can start building your relationship with those individuals. So that makes it a little bit easier. If your brokerage is too big, you'll notice. Like, it's really hard to get help. I was at a very big broker, and they put me with a mentor who had not sold a house in 10 years.
So it's because they retired?
Yeah. Still, why would you have mentors who have not sold a house in 10 years? The real estate industry does like this. True. It's like a maze. You know those mazes we used to do back in the day? That's how real estate industry is. It's nothing straight about it. But if you have a mentor who haven't sold houses in 10 years, how do they know? How do they know what the current industry is? You can read the news all day, but if you're not in it, actually on the ground, in the neighborhoods, you don't actually know what's going on.
That makes so much sense. Like, yeah, because like you said, it's a current market. So what happened 10 years ago is totally different than what's happening right now.
What happened 2 years ago? What happened last year is totally different than now. What's happening right now is going to be different from what's going to be happening in 6 months. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the investing side of being a buyer, right?
Okay.
When your client comes to you and say, hey, I'm looking to buy a house, or I'm looking, because you mentioned rental as well. What does that look like for them? You need to have these type of things in order. What would you say they need to have?
So I think what scares people the most is that you start off saying that they have to have the credit and the income, but nobody ever really says anything about, if you don't have the credit, do you have the work history? Because there's so many different lenders, so many different programs out there that can help individuals, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. Because people think it's just you go to a bank, you go to Bank of America, you go to Wells Fargo, and you get a loan for your house. There's other programs out there that can help people who have low credit scores. There's programs out there that will help individuals who have been on their job a long time, but maybe they don't make enough money. So there's a lot of different programs that people don't even know about, and it's not widely exposed. because I feel like more people would want to get their own space. Right. So starting out for me, I think you have to have the drive and the want to want a house. You have to come in and you want to be educated on the proper way to buy a house. Because I think a lot of times people, they go to individuals and they want to purchase a home, but they don't even know the process. And so they get into this process and then something starts happening and they don't know if they should back out or if they should continue to go because they're not being educated on what is happening. So I think for me, as long as you have the drive of wanting to get a house, of course you have a job. You have to have some type of income. Even if you're self-employed, we have to be able to prove your income. So I think for me, as long as you have some type of income, you have the drive and actually want a home, I think that's for me because you can work on your credit score. There's different programs out there where we can get some down payment assistance, where we can get some closing cost assistance. So I don't think you don't have to have 20K built up. For me, you don't. Because I'm the one that's going to go out there and try to find the lender or find the home or find the owner who's willing to work with the buyer to get them a home.
I love that. So let's tap into that educational piece as you mentioned. There are different programs. What would be one program that you worked with recently when it comes to the closing costs or credit repair, whatever the case may be, that you could share with us?
So USDA, which is a program for homebuyers, and it basically is called USDA Rural Development. And it was created to develop the rural areas. But it helps individuals who have low income, but who have been on their jobs for a very long time. The main focus is individuals who are teachers, anyone in the medical field, if you're a firefighter, anyone in the rescue field. Those are the individuals that they like to focus on. And so that's one that I just got certified in, and I've been helping individuals find homes through that program. With that program, you can actually buy land, you can buy a house, you can get a new house built, and you don't have a down payment. And then they try to make your monthly payments to where you can pay it. So it's a government program, it's a federal program, and it's a program that a lot of people don't know about, especially if you're a teacher. There are a lot of teachers that do take advantage of it, but there's a lot of teachers that aren't aware. There may be some single moms out there, and this is the way you can get a home. This is what they want to do. They want to give teachers homes.
That's beautiful. So why do you think, is it just a situation where you have to know a certain person or they just don't make it public? Because I know a lot of times we see things, but we don't pay attention to it until we're actually in that situation. Or other times we just don't know until coming across somebody like you and then we get educated. So is this publicly known, or would you say you would have to be in these type of spaces to understand?
So this goes back to my media, my branding background, right? So it's definitely publicly known. The thing about it is there a lot of awareness behind it? No.
Right.
So
there's not a lot of people pushing it.
A lot of realtors they're in it for different things. And so if the USDA does not pay a certain percentage of the home, they may not even tell you about their program. So, that's where we get our niches from. Everybody has their own niche. And so I think for me, because I worked for Habitat for so long and I helped so many people get into homes, I wanted to be able to do that on my own through other programs that were available. Because I can still use Habitat for Humanity. That's another program.
Right. I was going to, after this, if we could talk about that. Because
Yeah.
I know my sister-in-law, she went through Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
And that's such a great program.
Yes.
So, but go ahead. Keep going.
So USDA is sort of similar to that, but they even help with repairs. People don't realize that there's programs that you can do where you can get into a home, and if the home needs repairs, there's a loan where you can get that will help you do the repairs on the home. Basically, you find a house that's affordable to where they give you a whole amount. It's enough, the loan covers the price of the home and the repairs. And a lot of individuals don't know that. So you may find a house that you absolutely love, and it just needs some repairs. And if you can get it at a lower price, then you put in a bid for it and then do the loan to be able to do the updates to the home.
That's okay. You dropping some gems.
I hope so, girl. I'm new at this, but I love doing this, and I've tried to educate myself as much as I could.
Tell you love it because you're so willing to give out the information because there's a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And you're so willing to be like, okay, you can do this, and I really, really enjoy that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's talk about humanity.
Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity. Let's talk about that because I learned about sweat equity. There's so much that I learned just asking questions about the program. So go ahead and tell people about that one.
So Habitat for Humanity, I worked there for over 10 years. I actually started out there as a AmeriCorps. Are you familiar with AmeriCorps? So AmeriCorps is like a program through the government where they will pay for you to go to school, and you can work for a nonprofit as an internship, but they actually pay you. And so I started out with Habitat for Humanity as an internship and ended up getting hired on full-time, and I was there for over 10 years. Habitat for Humanity is a program that it's a grassroots program, so it could be in different states, different cities, and it's basically ran by that individual organization. So I was a part of Dallas area Habitat for Humanity, which is the biggest habitat in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I was over family services. So basically what I did was any families that came into the program, they had to go through different classes, because a lot of individuals who came to the Habitat for Humanity program, they had never been homeowners. Right. They really did not understand the home ownership versus renter situations. So there's a lot of things that change when you become a homeowner versus a renter. And so through Habitat, I was able to get different companies and different organizations together to be able to educate these families. So like even one small thing, pest control. An apartment, you just have to call you have to call the office and say, hey, I need pest control. In a house, you actually have to keep up with the schedule of your own pest control. You have to set up those appointments and make sure that they're coming back frequently if you need pest control. Some people, that little small thing, they don't even know. Changing your filters in your home. As a renter, you don't change your filters in your home. So those different things, I was a part of my team. We educated individuals on that. But then we
Did you
also
make classes, or
yeah, we had classes. I created a schedule to where they would take like a 2-day home ownership. It was required. Once they got in their home, they had to take it. And then we would have different financial classes so that they could come and take. We also I was over doing like community events. And so we would be in the community talking about Habitat, but then we would also be able to provide our homeowners. So say, for instance, you got into a Habitat home, you started struggling. We had like a little store in the back where homeowners could come and get toiletries and different things. And so I was responsible for those things too. So I've always been a kind of like a giver, or I've always wanted to support individuals. So Habitat for Humanity was like, I absolutely loved that job. I did. I cried so many times because you should hear some of those stories. You know, it was just so many families that they never thought homeownership was obtainable because nobody that they knew was a homeowner. And they were the first homeowners. It was like the first person going to college. That's how it felt to them. They were the first in their family. So it was very rewarding. Very, very, very rewarding.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now this is a good segue to our next section. And we're going to talk about highs and lows. And it doesn't have to pertain to real estate. It can be anything that you want to celebrate, that you want to share with us and say, hey, Amber, I did it. So what would you like to share with us?
Girl, Amber, you did so good with raising your kids, girl.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh, girl, you have a son going to college. Yeah. Like I never would have thought my son would be going to a D1 school. And so that is something I'm very, very, and I sent him to private school on my own.
Yeah, when you said that, my eyes bucked. I was like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I told him I'm so mean. But I told him, I was like, after he graduated, I was like, look, I don't know how you're going to pay for college, but you're going to pay for college on your own. But of course, I'm helping him pay for college.
Right.
But still.
Put a little fire under his
bum. Put a little fire. But no, I'm very proud of myself for that. And I will say for these last 2 years, I was really like in a bad place because my dad passed. And my dad was like the pillar of our life. And I think that over the 2 years, I was able to actually like take out time for myself and realize who I was. And I feel myself coming back to myself, but even a better person. And so I'm so thankful for that because a lot of people don't know how to take out that time for themselves. And a lot of people don't actually know how to go through grieving. So I actually studied, what grieving was because I knew I was going through it, but it was really bad for me. And then I started going to a counselor. Like a lot of people don't like to do the counselor. Absolutely love I love food. I absolutely love a counselor.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're feeding your soul.
Correct.
So,
that's exactly how I look at it.
So on the opposite end, because I kind of want to dive in a little bit more with the other side of your grieving. Because of course we still grieve and we still think about our loved ones, especially it sounds like you are a daddy's girl.
Oh no, I was girl. My daddy, girl, he was the pillar. But my dad was the pillar of our entire family. You know how you have that one person that just like, he is the glue of everything? Yeah, it was my dad. And so he was, my dad, if it was not for my dad, I don't think I would have been in the entertainment industry. He used to take me to every concert he could think of. So like he made me fall in love with music. And that's what, so I that was my guy.
Yeah. Because when I usually do the low question, I always ask people, you know, what keeps you motivated to keep going? Because again, I'm sure I haven't gone through losing my father, and I don't want to act like I know what that feels like. But for you, like, what keeps you motivated to keep going? Because you're here, you're still striving, you know, you're, of course, helping your son, helping your daughter, and you still do what you need to do to keep moving and grooving. So what do you do that keeps you moving and grooving?
Okay, so when I started off, I said I'm a woman of God. So I think that I'm spiritual and religious. So I think making sure that I have an even balance in between the two really helped me a lot. Because people, yes, I love the Lord, but we also have a universe, and people don't realize that. And so that universe does a lot to our energy. The frequencies in the world does a lot to our energy, and people don't realize that. And so me focusing in on those things is what actually helped me a lot through getting through my dad, because my whole family's going through this. It's not like I have somebody to talk to. And at this time, I was going through a relationship breakup, so I didn't have anybody to talk to, like literally anybody. And so that's why I started going to my counselor. Because, you know, you'll talk to some people, and just like you said, I like for you, you know, I commend you for being honest, because people think that they know what you're going through because their granny died or their sister died, but a girl and her dad is two totally different things. Yeah. A mom and her boy is two totally different things. And so my dad taught me my hustle. My dad gave me my ability to be so, you know, so strong. You know what I mean? He taught me a lot. You know what I mean? And so losing him was something that I had never felt that pain. All the breakups I done been through, you know, even my daughter my daughter's a preemie. She was born at 24 weeks. And so that was painful. But the pain from my dad passing, that was the most pain I had ever felt in my life. Not understanding that grieving properly, it was just like I had went into a whole complete shell. It was like some days I couldn't get out the bed. I literally, you hear people say that and you're like, well, why can't you get out the bed? But I actually felt that. And then because I couldn't get out of the bed, my businesses are networking. My businesses are making sure I keep my relationships. And so because I couldn't get out the bed, because I couldn't do my work, I started getting into financial issues. And it was like, at one point, I was at rock bottom. Like, literally, the bottom. And so I think that I started really, like, listening to books. And I started going to sleep to frequencies. And I started really focusing on me. If I wanted to go out and I want to party, I'm going to go out and I'm going to party. If I want to stay home and I'm going to do this, I started learning how to say no and started saying more yeses to myself. And I think that's what allowed me to get through the grieving and allowed me to actually get back to me. Like, sometimes people get through grieving and they can't get back to themselves because something is missing. There's a gap, there's a hole. But I think I was with my dad the whole day before he passed. It was just me and him. And so I think that kind of gave me a little relief in my grieving, and I created his obituary. I created my dad a 12-page obituary.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And a whole video. So I think that kind of helped with my grieving too, because I was able to look at people sending me all these pictures and, you know, all these quotes and all these good memories. I'm like, oh my God. It was just one video. My dad was a big character. He was like, I get a lot of we haven't really had time together, but I get a lot of my corny like jokes and stuff from my dad. And so it was this one video they were talking about my cousin who had passed away, I think. No, it was his birthday. And my dad was older than him, and he said something about, you caught up with me in age. My mama, like, look she gave him because they were sitting next to each other. It was just like so hilarious. So I keep that in my phone. And so those different things, I believe in seeing the red bird. I hear my dad's voice sometimes. All of that stuff helped me get through my grieving.
I love that.
Yes, you really have to allow yourself. I think that's the thing. I think you have to allow yourself. So
that was good. Yeah. Okay, so our next segment would be one free advice. Okay. I feel like a lot of times we pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to different seminars or pay for these classes. And at the end, you're like, what did I get from this? Nothing. So what could you share with our audience today? It could be a quote. It could be just some advice, anything for them to take from this and then actually use it.
Okay. I know this is about to be very cliche if I say this too, but it's the truth. Be yourself, no matter what. I think that part of the reason why this is my first time being on a podcast in many years is because I started to lose myself. And if you lose yourself, you can't be yourself in front of people. So I think that I was afraid to be myself in front of people because I had lost myself. And one thing I do know in real estate, I use your real estate bay for so many reasons. Because in the real estate process, you have to trust somebody. And so I want individuals to trust me. But at the end of the day, you also have to think about your personality. And so in the entertainment industry, it's your media bay. And it's also about the trust. But it's also in the real estate industry, I built it up to where when I see people, I say, hey, babe, how you doing? You know, especially if I don't remember your name. I'm not going to be like, what's your name? You know, I'll remember it as soon, like after we are talking, but I meet so many people. So my thing was, hey, babe, you know, how you been doing? So I think it's just me being more personable. And, you know, you see a lot of realtors, they have on the suits and all that. I wear what I want to wear, what makes me feel comfortable. And I treat the individuals how I would want to be treated to make them feel comfortable. And our first meeting, we're not talking about a house. We're talking about who we are as individuals, because everybody that you meet on your first meeting as a realtor, they're going to talk about the houses. Right. I want to be personable. Mm-hmm. So the main thing that I can tell anybody is no matter what journey you're on, is remain yourself. Don't try to remain yourself. Learn how to remain yourself, who you are, be true to you, because at the end of the day, if somebody comes into your life and they try to change some things about you, how do you move on after that when you've already lost yourself in them? So we lose ourselves in the world all day. So if we could learn how to be our true selves, our honest true selves, we can accept criticism, we can grow, we can accept when we're wrong, and we can move on. And so I think that's what it is for me. I'm so down to earth now because I've accepted who I am. So if I do something and if I say something, I'll be like, oh, shoot, that wasn't right. Oh, shoot, okay, I'm sorry. I will apologize for it, because you don't know sometimes when you hurt people's feelings. You don't know sometimes when you say something that is offensive to people.
Especially if it's not intentional.
I'm never intentional. Mm-hmm. I'm a Cancer. Mm-hmm. I love everybody.
Mm-hmm. And y'all emotional, too.
I'm very emotional, so I don't like to hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. So I never intentionally want to hurt somebody or hurt their feelings. Right. So I just think that sometimes the way I say different things, I'm so natural or I'm so real sometimes that I say the wrong words in the wrong order. Mm-hmm. But I think that, you know, if you know me, you know that Amber's just, you know, she's just being real. She's not trying to hurt you. So I think being me helps me, not only in my real estate, but it helps me in my everyday life, in my entertainment business, because being myself, next time you call me or whenever you call me, you know you're going to always get Amber. No matter what I'm going through, you're going to always get me.
I love that.
Yeah, so always be yourself.
Indeed. Okay, so tell the people how they can contact you, if that's social media, website, if that's for your media bay, or if that's for a real estate bay. So Just tell the people how they can plug in.
Okay, so I give everybody my phone number. I'm just going to be honest, because I have so much going on. Mm-hmm. Now, remind you, this is my business line, and I do know how to block people, so I have no problem with that.
Disclaimer, okay?
Just disclaimer right quick. But no, first of all, social medias. So you can reach me on social media at Your Media Bay or Your Real Estate Bay. On IG, on Facebook, everything is those two platforms. And then my cell phone, if you want to talk about a house or if you want a media run, whatever you may need, it's 214-293-8990. So, hey.
She gave y'all everything. So
I gave you everything. I gave you everything. And I do know how to say no.
Indeed. Because again, we got to be ourselves.
We have to be ourselves.
Okay, so after this, we're wrapping it up. We always leave it with a motivational moment. Sometimes it's a scripture, it's a quote, something that I saw or something that I received that just made me feel like, I can bring this on the podcast. So today it is a scripture. It's by Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11.
Okay.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So I'm going to share my thoughts and you can share your thoughts, and it's a wrap. So for me, when it comes to this particular scripture, I was on a hiatus as well was it for 2 years, maybe a year? But it was a very, very long time because I lost myself. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of things that was going on with me internally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and I just didn't feel like myself. So after sitting down and really understanding why God gave me this vision, I just had to get back to Brianna first. So going back and understanding that God gives us these visions, gives us these things, and you feel it and you keep coming back to it, there's a reason for it. And I've always known when I did the podcast, I was in my happy place, just talking to people, linking up to people. And I have an accounting background. So for me, just being in this space just lets me know that I'm in the right space. I'm in the right area. I'm doing the things that God wants me to do. And sometimes it does get hard. Sometimes you veer off. But as long as you get back to what God called you to do, I feel like that's the happy space that we always have to get back to. And that goes back to you saying we always got to fill up our own cups. We got to be for ourselves. We understand what God has for us. Sometimes we can be a little hard-headed. But at the end of the day, when we really sit down and just be with God and understand that this is not for us, it's bigger than us, then we have to do these things to get out there, talk, communicate, network. Because again, we're a vessel. And I'm really big on that. So, if you have something, if you have like a burning desire, I would say do it, because at the end of the day, God has placed that in you. What are your thoughts about that?
That's so crazy that you read that verse, because that was one of my favorite ones.
Amen.
Because, and so it goes back to being you. He created us, and he gave us a path. And as long as you stay on that path, you will be successful. And I think for me, I kept trying, girl, I'm telling you, I've been taking real estate classes since I was straight out of high school. And I kept fighting it. And if it was not for real estate and me staying on the path that I know he wants me to be on, I would not have been able to get out of the financial burden that I was in. I kept fighting it, and it kept putting me in a deeper financial burden. And so that's why I say when it comes to being you, you know who you are deep down inside. I don't care what anybody say. Yeah, you have some stuff that have affected you, but you as a person, you know who you are deep down inside. And sometimes you don't want to be that person because you feel this person won't like you, or this person, they don't like what you do, or this. You can't worry about any of that. Because at the end of the day, those people weren't born with you, and those people are not going to die with you. So I think that for me, for that scripture, I think it is staying on your path when you know it's right. And don't be scared, because if it's your path, then it's going to happen. And I think a lot of times we get to that point where it's like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And you're in your head, but you keep seeing these visions of you supposed to be doing it. And I believe so much in visions. That's another thing that helped me, because I kept seeing all of this, me on the stage talking to multiple people about real estate. So I kept seeing these visions, and I'm like, you know what? I know that this is my path. And as I'm walking in this path, it feels so good. It feels so good. And that's where I know I'm supposed to be. And I think that scripture has a lot to do with that, because everybody has a path. Everybody has a path. And I hate to say this, even people on drugs, everybody got a path. And you hate to even think that the Lord would put them on that type of path, but everybody has a path, and you got to follow that path the way he wants you to, and you got to focus on you and be happy in that path. Like, I'm totally happy. And I can tell you got this little glow going on over here. I can tell you happy in your path too. So that's good.
I receive that.
Yeah.
And yes, like this whole time I've been seeing a glow as you talk about media and as you talk about real estate. Yeah. So I'm super excited for you in this new journey.
I was a secret agent for a long time.
Nice.
So I'm not going to be secret agent anymore.
You out there.
Yeah, no, I'm out here. If you don't know I'm a realtor by now, we need to talk.
Okay. All right. So, Amber, this is it. Did we leave anything out? Is there anything you feel like I missed? Tell the people.
I just want to thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for being committed to yourself. Because people don't know how we met, but we met on social media. I had never met this young lady a day in my life. But during COVID, I had to figure it out in the entertainment industry, and I ended up reaching out to you. I remember when you were on your hiatus, because you told me, and I think I reached back out. You were still on your hiatus. So I love relationships like this, because it's a very, very natural relationship. I just want to tell you, keep doing what you're doing and keep loving what you're doing, and it will bring you so much wealth and happiness in your life that you will be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me too.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right, ladies and gents, if you're listening to this morning, noon, evening, or night, thank you so much for tuning in to What's Good Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us for another episode of What's Good Podcast with your girl, Brianna Jovahn. If you found today's discussion inspiring, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your preferred podcast platform. Explore additional resources on our website at whatsgood-productions.com and find our social media links listed in the show notes. Stay tuned for more captivating stories ahead. Until next time, stay blessed and keep uplifting your community.